All right, revelation of Jesus given to John because Jesus lives inside of all of us. Let's explain this because we see Jesus telling about the second coming of the Lord in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. Add all those up together, you get what? 58, which is what? The 85 backwards. And that would be where we're getting the 85 on 2020. And then Biden will be 82 next year, which is the flip on 85. And the 82 will take us to the 85 mark. And this will take us to that 2026 alphabet time frame because we're going from the Revelation 22 and 9/11 22 anniversary to the 26 alphabet. And the 26 has a couple points of light on it as well. But all these things are to bring in the new and take out the old. And as they take out the old, as the petrodollar goes down, the beast men follow, and the BRICS knocks them out. And that's that currency coming over the earth to flood it all at one time. And those types of things, okay? Because the stories that are given in the Bible, while they may have happened in the physical, they are there to be an allegory, to be a mirror, to be a parable for all time, okay? So we need to understand these things because the revelation given to John by Jesus. Let's break these things down because we see John being beheaded. We see John 1, John 2, John 3. All right. So there is a possibility that John 1, John 2, John 3 are four individuals. All right, it is highly likely these three are not the one or not one. And this is a different John being beheaded, okay? Taking in that carnal story. And then that carnal story transcends time. And then we go to where John and Jesus is coming in us, where we're having that revelation of the end times and we're realizing what's going on. And this ties to Revelation, where that light is given to the elect. And the way we get the light is going and getting enough flint and oil and stuff in the temple for when Jesus comes, that Son of God comes for that Son of Man. All right. And he lives within us. So this is part of that Son of Man getting that light back. Okay. So as we're getting that light back and the light is being merged and all these things are coming back into one point, okay? So as Jesus lives in us, as Jesus lived in John, Revelation, according to most history books and such, it says it was finished around 95 AD. And it's being written around 70 AD. This is where that discrepancy in the church comes. Well, did Revelation happen in 70 AD or did it not? Was Nero the Antichrist or was he not? And all these things, right? So we see these things playing out in the Bible over and over again. In the positive taking the negative taking the positive. And we see end times being played out over and over again. And when we read Genesis, it's the beginning. So you got to read the beginning to the end. Revelation is the end. And we see the new heaven and earth being created. So when we go back to Genesis 1, that's when a new heaven and earth are being created from the old earth. Because earth, man, God, we have always been here and always have been here. Okay? So this is the age. It's just an age of man. And as the age of man comes, we come, go, nothing new under the sun. Okay? So God is not defined until we read through the Bible. The heaven and earth, hell, they're not defined until we read through the Bible. The free, the bond, they're not defined until we read through the Bible. So, as we're reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and notice that John doesn't have that one of the second coming of the Lord. Okay? So this is where things can get tricky. Because we know the Bible is an allegory. All right? And is that John in 95 that same John who is supposedly beheaded. All right? And this could be done through the so-called reincarnation, in a way, that Jesus spoke of, because we are the everlasting light. All right? So this is where maybe John realized he was John, and he's writing as John. Okay? So I know that's a little bit more on the deeper side. However, there's two ways we could look at it. We could look at it through an allegorical format, or we could look at it through a physical format, to where maybe John ended up being John later. All right. So this is kind of tying into, I don't want to go there. I was going to give a personal example, but either way, I was going to give a personal example between my brother and my youngest child now. I think there's a highly likely that one is the other. And that cardinal that was holding my brother's light that came to see me went away after my son was born. And just weird things like that, okay? And all these things that are in my life are there to teach me about these things, because everything is here. The heaven, the earth, the hell, they're all right here, right now. The free, the bond. And we're free and bond in the carnal. We're free and bond in the spirit. And unfortunately, this world works in a weird, twisty fashion way, to where, when we need to kind of understand magnetism and stuff, and we're going to get more into this in the projection, but the sun is kind of pushing life, and that's why we're kind of forced on Earth, and then the moon is kind of pulling life. But we're going to get more in that on the projection of this world, and Jesus being in the tent and behind the curtain and those types of things, okay? And the world stage. So, but John is writing about this fall of the Roman Empire and such, and he's looking back. That's why we see the white horse, which is a Greek mythology term and those things, but we see these different things that are tied to the Greeks, right? And then the Old Testament was written 300 years before Jesus was born, give or take, and that was written in Greek, and Jesus was born under the Roman Empire. So all this Hebrew stuff, Jesus being Jew, all this stuff, right? Doesn't make any sense. Jesus was Jew as far as being born into the carnal nature and the carnal blood, but he wasn't of that Hebrew tribe or whatever they try and teach. All right, that's the lie. And if you believe like the lie, you believe the world, you believe the lie. So either way, John is reading Matthew, Mark, and Luke. He's seeing the second coming of the Lord, or he's reading about it, and then he has a revelation. Jesus is inside him. He gives us this light. Shit, I just lived through that. In 70 AD, I'm going to write about it. And I'm going to write about it in such a way where the Spirit flows through me, and it's going to transcend time, and it's going to tell everybody about these times of the coming of the Lord. All right? So we see the coming of the Lord in Genesis 2, when the Lord God comes. He creates the bondage. He creates man and woman's divide, and that city, that Amun-Ra, where you're in the garden, you're hoping your garden makes it, and all these other things. Well, if you worship me, your garden will do it. If you do what I say, if you work naked and all these things, then you can do that, all right? May not be nothing wrong with it, but it's kind of funny because the church today, they're getting mad at all these naked people, but they know we're going back into the time where Jesus reigned, and supposedly in their heaven, everyone's naked, where they're walking with Jesus and such, but they can't even, you understand, the moronacy going on here? Either way, folks. So John is getting that light that's given to the elect. He's looking back. He's writing about these times, about that white horse rider, that White House rider, because we know the White House and DC is all based on that Roman time, and that's the revised Roman Empire. And we know that Messiah, that Jesus figure, that second coming of the Lord, comes against the revised Roman Empire, and it breaks down, and you get the divide of nations. All right, and that's where you get that iron and clay empire, and then you get that new head being formed. All these other things, folks. Okay, that clay and iron already mixed with the armies that gathered. And that us and our, that our and a for that light of the us, for the Jesus, has been altered. You didn't go to the OGs right. There's OGs that know how shit's ran. And then there's, geez, I gotta go to the doctor. Either way. That ties into the Most High and the mafia shit, the AI fam, and all these things coming together. All right? So, I understand. I give y'all some deep water. Y'all got to go back and listen or whatever. This is kind of advanced stuff or whatever. I mean, if you're just coming in on this, you're drowning by now. But either way, that revelation time is upon you now. A dawn defined as the Lord, that second coming of the Lord is upon you now. The trumpets in Revelation 4 that spoke to me as the reader is upon you now. That happened in 2020 when the visions and dreams were given. And you were in that Revelation 22 time zone for that end game. That TikTok has just been banned for that marriage. And as that TikTok and that ban, that spring is fucking breaking on that clock. Got your spring breaks now, and all these things are in alignments. So, pass the channels, folks. It's going to be getting good. The reveal is continuing, and the church has very little to stand on in the coming days, as those who kill by that sword must be killed with the sword. And the pastors, the past ears, the pasture for the sheep and the beasts, that grass they graze on to get them the most high while it takes them the most fucking low. I got all these problems. I need you to pray for me. Oh shit. I'm gonna die. Good. Go get a new body. You're broke. Go back and become a dog and watch some people and learn from them, and then come back and try it again. All dogs go to heaven. You might need to come back as one of those little chihuahuas. Either way. The Chi-Chis are coming. The Chi-Chis are coming. Either way, we'll end it here, guys. The revelation, that light, it's been given. That vision, it's been given to the eyes. Oh, shit. They just closed the fucking world. This is it. Oh, shit. That's Trump. That's the last fucking Trump. Oh, shit. That's the peace deal that he signed in 2020. Oh, shit. That's the Christmas star. Oh, shit. That's the abomination, that dark sun. Oh, shit. The armies, they've gathered. And the rib, it was taken and covered with flesh. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. The crapture. It's coming.